So welcome to part two. I've been running Zoom sessions for over a year and I never had a power cut. And as soon as I do a recording, there's a power cut. So we're going to resume. We're about an hour in. I think it's important if you are joining part two, it's important that you do part one first. Otherwise you won't be warmed up. So we've just done the rotations. So I'd like you to come now and come into child pose just to rest for a moment. And then come up to sit on your heels. And by the way, sitting on your heels is good. We're actually designed to be on the floor. It's only recently in our evolution that chairs have been invented. So it's a good yoga position to cultivate. However, if you have any pain in the knees or it's not comfortable, then don't expect this to be comfortable straight away. It will take time and maybe a year before you can sit on the floor in a comfortable position. But it's worth doing because it straightens the back, it works into the ankles and the knees in a helpful way. So I'd like to talk about patterns of movement, becoming aware of patterns of movement. Coming into high kneeling, I'm just going to change the angle slightly. So coming into high kneeling. And what I mean by the compliance of the body is that when we move, we want the whole body to work together, ideally, because if we have a pattern of movement that's compliant and there's no resistance, then we're less inclined to injure ourselves and we can move more comfortably. So if you look up, do you feel that the hips move forward at the same time? Or are you just turning the head up? What we would like ideally is for the whole of this extension to involve the whole body. And if it doesn't, and if there's a tightness there, it may be that the cause of that tightness is the fact that your whole body isn't involved. And you're not going to change that overnight. It's going to take time to change it. It's something in your history that's caused it. So let's be mindful of this pattern of movement. As we look up, do the hips move forward? So I'm just going to do it from a side angle. So as I look up, my hips go forward at the same time. And of course, this is a sort of thing that you do on a daily basis. As it happens, we've evolved more for rounding than we have for looking up. That's less helpful in our evolution. I think it came about when we needed to climb, I think. But on the whole, we're more comfortable rounding. But there are situations when we're in the garden or, I don't know, in the garage or in the kitchen or at the office, when we do, or in the aeroplane getting our hand luggage, when we do this, and it's helpful just to have a feeling for the whole body being involved in this movement. And of course, we can add to that by very deliberately, well, in fact, let's take a step forward, actually. So coming onto a sort of warrior one position. I'm just going to move back slightly. Put this under my knee because this carpet's quite hard. Okay, so kneeling. But this time, looking up and feeling again the movement in the hips as you look up. And there's a slight feeling of the back going into extension, the straightening of the back. And if we then add catching the beach ball and coming down, trying to do it, not airy-fairyly, but quite deliberately, do you feel a whole pattern of movement that's helpful to you? And by the way, you want to have a good footprint. Try not to lunge the knee forward. We're more concerned with taking the back into extension in a compliant and helpful way. So this is warrior one, which I prefer doing kneeling because that way we're just getting the pattern, the movement in the upper body. When we're standing, we tend to use the lower body as well. So swap over and do both sides. So coming forward, establishing a good footprint, and then just looking up a few times, just noticing, is it a whole body event? Or are there some roadblocks? So just being diligent really about noticing. And that's what we're doing. We're just being curious. And mindfulness really is about curiosity. Often, as we get older, we tend to lose that sense of curiosity, and we have more of a narrow scope. And that only goes one way. Our world gets smaller and smaller. So in mindfulness yoga, we want to have a sense of curiosity. What's happening? How does this feel for me? And often when people say to me, look, this is a bit repetitious and a bit boring. Well, it's only boring because they're not really exploring it in a curious way, in the same way that we often drive about not noticing a sunset, or, I don't know, mother and child together in a playground. We're just not curious. Often we miss things. So mindfulness really is about inquiry and noticing. That feels very compliant, very, very smooth. I could do it all day. Okay, so let's come into what I call sprinter's pose. So can you imagine you're just about to do the 100 yards? It was in my time anyhow at school. I'm just going to change the camera slightly so you can see my feet. I hope the battery lasts on this camera. Okay. So this is, you're going to do the 100 meters as it is now. So this is your sprinter's pose. So I've got my right foot on the floor. My left knee is bent and probably in line with it, but hip width apart. And I'm sitting on my left toes. So I just come sideways on so you can see this. You can see how I'm just sitting on these toes. So just do it. Don't make it misery for you. If it's painful in the toes, just do it gently. And we're going to get quiet first of all. So we're going to find the handprints. So it's all about how do you feel? How can you move the body in a comfortable way and turn and remain stable and comfortable? This is what we're exploring, because this is what we want to do in daily life. So good handprints. Relax the shoulders, get that sense of quietness in the shoulders again. Good. And then gently, just get set by straightening that back leg. So I'll just do it sideways on so you can see. So once you become quiet, staying quiet, just doing this a few times. You want to keep the upper body as quiet as possible. Keep the face quiet. So trying in the same way when we were doing face down dog, not to bring drama and turbulence into the shoulders. So you're being very mindful about the frames involved here. You're going through this like you're watching a movie, frame by frame, not seeking an end result, not striving, just being interested in each frame as it comes up. And this may be just as far as you want to go. But if you want to come into a classic yoga pose, then this is a good base to do it. I'm going to take my right hand into the center and take the left arm up into Trikonasana. But I want to remain steady. If I'm starting to wobble and things become very turbulent, then don't do it. You want to get this stability first of all. So having a few goes. In your own time. And if we can be mindful in our mindfulness yoga classes, then we can start to take that outside into the normal world. Not just in terms of our movement patterns, but also in terms of our thinking patterns as well. You know, often we aren't actively listening to somebody. We're more concerned about what we're going to say to them. But if we can grow this awareness muscle through our yoga, then we can carry that into the rest of our lives. I'm not saying that there's going to be moments when we're more reactionary than responsive, but it's often 2 steps forward and 1 backwards, as my wife keeps telling me, when I don't load the dishwasher properly or something like that. Okay, so let's have a go both sides. So establishing a quietness, you're making handprints, you're in Hollywood Boulevard. Just establishing, keep changing the camera. Just establishing your handprint in, I guess it's some kind of friendly cement. Committing to the ground, having a sense of grounding. So often yoga is so experiential, it's hard to put into words, but having a feeling of grounding the body, how does that feel? And then getting set. And then rewinding frame by frame. And if you feel that life isn't too choppy, can you come into your Trikonasana? But don't be in a hurry. Remember, we're not trying to seek an end result here. You may want to slow the frames down here, just because it becomes slightly more tricky, because we're trying to stay stable while turning the body. Something which is very helpful for us, by the way. But we're trying to do it in a way where we're not striving, we're not using muscles that we don't have to use. It's good, so have a couple of goes. I'm out of breath a bit. I was rushing around trying to find out why the power was cut. So being very attentive to the quality of the movement. If you find that when you turn into the Trikonasana, things are a bit wobbly, it's probably because your knee and your footprint at the outset aren't wide enough apart. They want to be at least hip width apart. Don't be, on a sort of rail line. Don't have them in line. It's good. Okay, so let's come and rest in child pose for a moment. So you're probably getting quite used to this now, the sense of grounding in the sort of prone position, which is actually easier to breathe. Probably noticed in the COVID that in the end they realized putting people in a prone position was the way that we've evolved to breathe more gently. Okay, so let's come to lie on our backs again, as we did at the start, with the feet on the floor but the knees bent, and just allow the body to reconnect with the floor underneath you. So have that sense of committing to the ground, letting the face just release tension again, letting the shoulders just dissolve. And then drawing your knees in, knees towards the armpits, taking your arms on the inside of the legs and either grabbing your ankles or socks or your big toes. So it's a strange position to be in, this happy baby it's called. Not the most elegant position, but we're on Zoom, so that's okay. Okay, so let's just take the legs up a bit. It's good. And allow the body to settle on the floor, holding the toes or the ankles, wherever it is, and just turn the head to the right and invite the body to follow. Just got to be careful about my microphone. Rolling on to your right side. Trying to keep as relaxed as you can, turning the head back to the center, inviting the chest to follow, and then turning your head to the left, inviting the body to follow. So this is all about compliance, really. It's not about force or strength. It's about the brain mapping what's going on here as we slowly turn from one side to the other. And it may be that this is new to you, and so your brain hasn't mapped it. So moving slowly will be more difficult. You may want to move quickly. You may become beached on one side. That's okay. But the more you repeat this, and it's quite a complex pose, and there's a lot going on, the brain's having to become aware of a lot of things, then the easier it will become. So just finding a rhythm, trying to relax as much as you can as you just roll to center. Turn the head, invite the body to follow, chest, then trunk, then knees. There's a lot going on. And come back to center. Good. Bring the feet down. And we're going to do a supine relaxation now. So It may be a case that you want to put on some blankets or some layers of clothing or a pillow behind your head. Just take a few moments to make yourself comfortable. Finding the floor again. Having a sense of grounding. And tuning in to how you feel. How does the body feel after this hour and a half of movement? If you've done part 1 and part 2, sorry about that. Okay, so coming into this supine position, or what's called in yoga savasana, corpse pose. Very good position to be mindful. Maybe one of the most difficult yoga poses because it's very easy for the mind to go into thinking and away from sensing. So just have the feet slightly parted, arms out to the sides. You may want to put a block under your head or a pillow. So you want the chin just to be down slightly, so the back of the neck is just lengthened. And just give weight to gravity. If I just ease the head away from the shoulders slightly. Broaden the shoulders out away from each other. And ease the pelvis down towards the feet, just inch them down as you sort of lengthen the body. And become aware of all those contact points that we were aware of before between the back of the body and the floor. So the heels, the sacrum, the shoulder blades, the back of the head, hands, arms. Just give weight. Let the face release any tension that it's holding. Let the forehead be wide. Let the eyes sink into the sockets. And have a sense of spaciousness in the mouth. Maybe just letting the tongue come out, taking it down maybe to lick some chocolate off your chin, and then rolling it up towards the roof of your mouth. And then relaxing the jawline. And then opening the palms to the ceiling and closing them down again. And opening and closing and building up the speed. So you're not thinking about it. Build it up, open, close, open, 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 and then just stop. Wherever that is for your hands. And then keeping the left heel on the floor, just lift the left knee a couple of inches or a couple of centimeters, then drop it down. Same with the right knee, keep the heel on the floor and do a bit of knee stamping. Build up the speed until you're having a bit of a mini tantrum. And then just stop. All the time, just checking in with how you feel. And then turn the toes in towards each other and then out. Feet in and out, like windscreen wipers, build up the speed. In, out, in, out, in, out, in, out. And then just stop. And just wait a few minutes and just let the body settle. And then have a sense of spaciousness in the body. Have a sense of the forehead being wide. Have a sense of spaciousness in the head, widthways from ear to ear, from the front to the back of the skull. And then the chest. Just allow the inner circumference of the chest just to become wider and deeper. And the breath, smooth. And the tummy, just allow that fluid-filled area to relax and sink. And then take a few deep breaths and have a sense of letting out the exhale with a sigh. And then finding the breath, approaching the breath like you're approaching a very shy animal. Have a feeling for the breath, the rhythm of the breath. Just notice where it's landing. Not trying to rush it. Just letting the breath breathe the body for the next couple of minutes. So breathe. Breathe again. Have a sort of inner smile. Or an outer smile. Have a sense of just naturally and effortlessly moving from doing and fixing to just being. Just seeing things as they are. And letting go. Have a sense of the stillness of the body and the stillness of the mind for the next couple of minutes. Hari Om Tat Sat. That completes the 2 yoga parts, mindful yoga. So don't be in a hurry. Maybe just turn to one side and just rest for a moment before you face gravity again. And then just slowly make your way up to sitting. The thing is to notice how you feel. I mean, I try not to use any mystical language. The most important thing, I try not to lead as well, is how do you feel? Ask that question at the end of the session. If you feel more spacious, more relaxed, more grounded, more aware, then you benefited from doing the mindful yoga. And that may not be the case for lots of people, and that's fine. But for many of us, then it is very helpful just to help us be more responsive, more skillful in the way that we conduct our lives. So thank you. If you've joined me for both of these parts, I may try and do it again in a few weeks, but that's great. Thank you very much. I'm going to switch off now.